In this devlog, I will talk about the art style for the game, and it's actually a, a tough skill for me doing these devlogs, talking about the game, because when I'm talking about myself talking, and I struggle to get the words out. But I will keep trying. Maybe with time and practice, I get better at it. But more to the point, the art style for the game. One thing that I have to constantly balance throughout this project is what I want to do with what I can realistically do. And this comes up a lot in the artwork for the game. First, I consider using pre-existing assets, pre-existing sprites and animations and tiles, but I feel like coming up with an art style, it's actually one of the things that motivates me the most to make games and to develop games. And I looked at a few assets and nothing sparked my interest as much as coming up with an art style of my own. Maybe this is something I have to work on, to be able to work and to get excited with existing assets, but because it probably is a much more efficient way to work, and I would probably have the opportunity to make many more games working this way than coming up and doing an art style for each game I want to do. But I haven't done this for this project, and I started coming up with an art style from scratch and drawing everything from scratch. And also, not only matters for my excitement, but for people to see and the game and how it's progressing. I feel it's much more fun and interesting to see a GIF of something a little bit more developed than only placeholder art. And as this is another thing I wanted to work on in this game, is like publishing screenshots and GIFs on Twitter from time to time. I wanted it to look interesting, so because the encouragement I get when people react to these screenshots and GIFs, it's awesome. It makes you want to keep going, and this is something I wanted to take into account. I wanted to make it look interesting from the get-go, for me and for people seeing it. So when I was considering what I wanted to do and what excited me, and I thought I could do pixel art, because pixel art is a little bit more feasible than other art styles for a non-artist to try his hand at. Pixel art you can kinda learn on the go. I don't mean to say that good pixel art is easier to do. It's not. it's an art style like any other. You have to be good for it to look good. But I felt it was one that I could approach a bit faster than other art styles and use and if it remained a little bit rough around the edges, it wouldn't jump out as much as other art styles tend to highlight inconsistencies. Maybe I could these inconsistencies wouldn't become so prominent in the pixel art style I wanted to do. So I went for this, at least this was my reasoning behind it. And so I went for a pixel art style with soft edges. I wasn't with soft edges. I'm not like doing hard lines. It's not a very rigid art style like maybe the Pokemon sprites, that's very precise. No, I'm going for like soft edges. Sprites are in the shapes of blobs, so it's a bit more flexible and I can be a little bit more lenient. If I could describe the art style I'm going for, is like a lazy, untalented version of Hyper Light Drifter pixel art style. So the good side of doing this and doing the art from scratch is that, as I said, it excites me, it makes me want to work on the project, and it feels like I can express my creativity through it, and I think it looks okay. And the cons of doing this, it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time, and time that I could be putting on coding, on game design, on level design. I'm having to dedicate a lot of time to art, and this probably isn't a very good idea for a first game, but I'm sticking to it, at least for now, and I'm doing it. I already done a lot of art, and I actually feel that I have already learned a lot. I'm doing it faster, as if compared to the time I took at the beginning of the project. I can come up with sprites and animations and tiles faster and actually enjoy it more, but it's still a lot of work. And the work varies, the type of work varies according to the type of art I'm doing. For instance, if I'm drawing tiles, I feel it's actually relaxing, and the type of art the tiles require is like you have to draw patterns that look okay when put together, so it's kind of repetitive work, and you have to think about how the patterns will come together, and I kind of feel it's relaxing to draw. So I put some lo-fi hip-hop on the background and just keep drawing tiles and then putting the tiles together. I kind of like this work, is relaxing. I think of other things as I'm doing it. I enjoy the music. It's it's not very stressing. Then there is the work that I have to put on coming up with the sprites, and by this I mean coming up with characters and monsters, enemies, creatures, NPCs, player character, and this can be very fun also. It's a type of work that I can let my imagination go, and it's actually very creative, and I like doing it. And more when it's more fun when I am coming up with designs for monsters and funny characters that I don't have to be as much as stuck to. I don't have to make it very realistic, I can let my creativity go. If I'm drawing something that people expect to look a certain way, for instance a house, a campfire, or a common object, you can't be as creative. You have to. People expect these things to look a certain way, and for this I have to look references and to try to make it understandable. And the third type of artwork is animation. And this is the one I struggle the most with. Animation in itself is like a whole different area of knowledge, and they have the principles of animation that you have to understand to make your animations understandable and that look good and to convey what you want them to convey. And it's a very work intensive, because for each animation you have to draw it on different directions, and you have to account for the time the animation will take. So animation is by far the type of artwork that takes the most time, and it's the harder for me, for sure. And doing this much of artwork, I feel like I'm learning a lot about it. Learning and maybe some mistakes I made when choosing this type of artwork, and things to consider for future projects. As I said, I think I should work on my difficulty with using existing assets. If I could feel excitement with existing assets, I probably could be much more experimental and efficient in my game development, which is something I strive to be. And this is something I think I should work on, using existing assets, maybe adapting them a bit. Another thing, I probably shouldn't have chosen isometric art style, because it goes with, you have to take perspective into account, which is always harder than drawing like a straight top-down view. And also maybe I should use smaller sprites, because the smaller the sprites, the less you have to draw, the less details, and you have to be more resourceful on how you're going to convey certain animations. with fewer sprites, but I think it's easier for a beginner if you have to account for that many pixels in every animation, in every sprite. And well, something I'm considering is hiring an artist for future projects. I don't think it's realistic or is something I want to do as of now. Maybe when I'm more advanced in my game development abilities, I should consider doing it, but for this project I wanted to do the art myself. But these are things I'm considering that I think about. Maybe I'll try if I ever get to work on future projects. But for now, I will keep working on the art style I have, and I will keep going in this direction. It's true that it's work intensive, but I'm liking the direction it's going, and at times it's actually very fun to work on it. So I'll keep going, and I will also try to work on my devlog skills. I feel like indie game development, for someone that's starting as I am, you kind of have to master and learn 5 or even more whole different skills, and it's very challenging. But when things come together, it's very rewarding also. So I will keep at it, and I don't know, see you next time.